I'm really trying hard to change this mistaken time.
Yeah. If only this thing could go, that would be so cool. Welcome back to God Live B2B Jam Session. Oh, we're back. Oh, it's been such a long time since I've hosted a jam session. I've been really busy with life, moving, traveling, and taking care of our team as well as our business here at Guy. But we're happy to be back, and we will be back consistently, you all. So consider the last few weeks or months just as a little break that we've taken so we can come back stronger for the spring summer session. And you all see I'm sporting a new face mask. Shout out to Kenneth Cole for these amazing face masks. Aren't they just beautiful? I think they're really, my friend Jeremie, who is going to be our guest today, said they're really Daft Punk. I agree. Face masks are the future, not mouth masks. I hate those things. Mouth carpets are horrible. Get a face mask. Get a face shield. They're much cooler, in my opinion. Shout out to Dinesh, who is joining us. Shout out to that Facebook user who I cannot read their name. Howdy, Tim. Howdy back to you, my dear Facebook user. Shout out to Dinesh once again because he's so happy that it's Friday. I love it, man. I love it. With that said, I want to get into who our guest is for today because he's pretty cool and he's a good friend of mine. I've known him for almost 3 years now. We've run in the same circles for almost 3 years now. It's crazy. And he is actually on the West Coast in the Bay Area, I believe, still. He tends to travel a lot, so I'm not exactly sure. We'll ask him. But today, I'm talking to the author, y'all, of In the Shadow of Big Tech. You know what? Have you always dreamed of living in Silicon Valley and having an easy, perfect life? Well, think again. Because Jeremie Gluckman, Picard's book, In the Shadow of Big Tech, you'll actually learn the behind-the-scenes look at what living in a region destined for advancement is really like. It's not pretty, and I've lived in the Bay Area, y'all. It's not the best. Hoping to illuminate the underbelly of Silicon Valley and unpack core assumptions about innovation. Jeremie shares how living in a region that prioritizes technology over trust has affected the general mindset and culture. And he's going to be talking a little bit about the book. I don't want to spoil it for you all. But, Jeremie is a marketing leader and professional, and he spent his entire life striving to humanize tech products and deliver an excellent digital experience, man. He is one of the kindest human beings I've ever met. Seriously, and probably one of the smartest ones I've ever met, too, because he has a world of experiences. He's lived all over the world, including China, India, France, and the U.S. And more importantly, he's team guy. He's pretty amazing. And, he can share all kinds of things about himself. But today, we're really going to dive deep on his book, why he wrote the book, how life is like after the book, and how COVID-19 potentially has changed everything in the valley, in that area, and it's changing how technology and how humans engage with technology. I'm really excited to talk to him. And no, I'm not going to do this entire episode in this mask. I'll take it off eventually. But I want to introduce you all to my amazing friend, Jeremie Gluckman. Jeremie, welcome, my friend.
Hello. I will also take off my face mask.
The face mask.
This one I got on Amazon. It's not a fancy one like yours, but
oh, really?
Yeah. I definitely the face shield with the embedded sunglasses functionality has really I just wear it while driving now. It's like the best thing.
It's really, really cool. I love it, man. I love it. And people, it's better. I don't know. It's better than a mask to me, like a mouth mask, because I feel as if I can still see people and people can still see me. I even tried one of those mouth masks or mouth. What do we call them now? Yeah. I tried a face mask on my mouth that was transparent so people could see my smile. It wasn't as cool as the face shield. The face shield is just cooler, in my opinion. But
It definitely looks very future.
yeah, it looks very futuristic. But dude, tell me, how are you doing? You know, you recently just launched this amazing book, and you've been promoting it with your community. How's life for you, man?
Life is good. I had, I guess, very productive quarantine where I did a lot of reflecting, was in my apartment a lot, and basically the genesis of this book project was reflecting back on my childhood growing up in Silicon Valley, specifically Sunnyvale, California, which is kind of right in the middle there. So yeah, it came out of a period of reflection. I think honestly, if the pandemic hadn't happened, I probably would have flaked. I had travel plans and like wasn't really committed to writing a book, but then I was just at home, so here it is. And I have to say that I learned a lot. I think the discipline it took to really sit down and put my thoughts out there, it was very empowering to have. I wrote it through a course to have like accountability and really think about what my voice is and what my opinion is on things, which is actually very new to me. I don't generally share what I actually think in a lot of spaces. So I'm excited to do that more. And it's been vulnerable, but also very exciting.
Yeah,
so before that, I recently moved, still in the Bay Area, but just also emerging from a year unlike any other.
Yeah, unlike any other. I mean, we all must have learned something through COVID-19 and through quarantine. But you were definitely productive. You launched a book during quarantine, which is incredibly productive. And I want us to dive deep a little bit on the shadow of big tech. Tell us a little bit about why now. Why did you feel as if there was a need now to share a little bit more about your experience living in the Valley and how it's not really what it seems?
Well, I think I had moved away for 8 years and went to school on the East Coast, lived in India and China, and then came back to the Bay after doing the Peace Corps, which is a US government program that sends volunteers abroad. Kind of just getting to know the region where I grew up again and re-experiencing it as a young professional and an adult. And then, it was things like the smells of the trees in the spring and in and out and all the different experiences that just brought back all these memories from growing up and a lot of things that I had internalized as a child growing up in this part of the country that, like you described, is centered on advancement. I think in the Bay Area, we're incredibly productive. We have a local government system that favors and promotes the development of certain industries. And we also have a lot of social issues that we're grappling with that, having left and come back, I think have been exacerbated in many ways. So when I structured the book, I focus one on the political economy and history of this region, which is actually really interesting. I think there's a trope or like a mindset. A lot of people think of California as this ahistorical place where you just get on a motorcycle, move here, sell all your stuff, and like start a company and do whatever. But there's actually a lot of history, and there's a lot of culture, and there's a lot like California has like been around. And then within that, I think a big theme of the book is inequality and how to recognize the systems that are in place, whether it's philanthropic, the ways that we connect, so our technology, and also just our mindset and how we check in with ourselves to make sure that we aren't perpetrating inequality. And then the last piece of the book is a theme that I've had to address in myself a lot, is this idea of what does it mean to be productive and what is valuable. I think as a culture, we're incredibly focused on advancing and really obsessed with what we can measure. And we're good at things that are difficult to measure. So like things like trust or love or anything that you can assign a specific metric to, I don't think we do a very good job at addressing. I mean, one thing that I bring up in the book, which was interesting to revisit too from my teen years and childhood growing up, is like we have a mental health crisis in the Bay Area. And that's kind of where I conclude the book.
For you, you know, a lot has changed around during COVID-19 in terms of a lot of publications, and people have started to kind of address some of the traditional archaic ways of thinking that is stemmed in Silicon Valley in terms of not focusing more on the human experience and not focusing more on the wellness. And also the fact that a lot of maybe tech platforms aren't always used with the right intentionality. You know, for you, do you when you think about the book and how you wanted to play a role in individuals' lives, how would you describe that, man? Because you know, it goes deep. It's you in a nutshell, but it's also a city that a lot of people kind of fetishize over. So, what do you want the impact to be in terms of within people when they read it, man?
Yeah, I think what I hope people are left with is actionable strategies to check in with themselves, lead with relationships, and also just think about how to create space in their lives or in your life to really think about how you want to show up and what value you want to generate. I think, like I said, I went into the book project kind of very angsty, feeling like, oh, I'm back in the Bay, everything's about money and productivity. And I have all these like experiences from my childhood that were coming up that, you know, families here are under immense pressure because life is really expensive. So like I definitely grew up in a family where I never saw my dad because he was always working. We had very much a go, go, go attitude from one co-curricular to the next to, you know, robotics camp to, you know, hyper scheduled, hyper on paper looks great, very high performing, I have to say. Like I definitely feel very fortunate for all the opportunities that I've had. But yeah, those skills of checking in and also having a community and building authentic relationships, I think is really what it boils down to. And that's what I'd want to impart in the book. And I think that ties into kind of how I'd like to tell stories, start interviewing, documenting, and exploring through visual mediums beyond the book. That experience and the tone and culture that we're setting in the Bay Area, because it does have global implications.
100%. You know, from the Bay to the world. You know, especially with how infamous the Bay is in terms of tech talent and the technology history. And you know, I'm grateful to have lived there for some time as well and learn and pick up some things from there. You know, I want to ask you, right, because you are not only an author, but you work in the technology space. A lot of people don't often think of themselves as technologists because, you know, they're not engineers or they're not, you know, software designers or whatever. Do you consider yourself a technologist? And given the fact that, you know, you're also a part of the LGBTQIA community as well, you know, would you say that, you know, the perspective that you share in the book and that you bring to the table as a human being is also someone that loves technology and wants us to humanize it and think about what it means for the world?
Yeah, well, and I would say the book allowed me to connect with folks in my life that have a lot more experience and that I consider mentors. And again, a big theme is mentorship. I spoke with a family friend who's the CEO at Duality Robotics, a friend of mine that got introduced to through my last job, who's Michelle Betancourt, who 6-time CEO and then transitioned and is now out in the world as a female executive. A friend of mine who started their own startup and ran trust and safety at Facebook. So realizing through the project that I have all these great mentors in my life to help navigate these spaces, because at the end of the day, yes, I have tech affinity. I have always used technology. I grew up in the heart of it all. I grew up between Hollywood, So like Northern California with the technology space and Southern California with the film industry. And that's very much what my family did here in the US when we immigrated from France. And I think that taking a step back and thinking about, right, you're just a sponge when you're younger. When you're a child, you just take it all in and it's just the norm. But we need to take a step back and reflect and see how that's shaped me as a person. And also stepping away and coming back with that refreshed perspective and then thinking of how I want to engage with it all. So I think, if anything, the book comes, you end up with more questions than answers, but then you realize the importance of mentorship and the importance of guidance and the importance of being able to reach out and connect with folks who have that life experience or who have those insights. And there are huge equity implications there, right, too, because one story that I really love from the book is I was able to connect through the +1 Pledge on LinkedIn with a professional in Atlanta who's building a relationship-based company out there. And I think that the ability to build those relationships even remotely, as we've seen during the global pandemic, has value. So ultimately, how we connect with one another, how we center relationships, and then the relationship comes first, and then the partnership and the value grows from that, right? I think kind of flips it on its head, whereas a lot of people approach this region as they just see like a big bag of money and you need to get your slice. And you have your optimized calendar, you come in here with a very specific goal, and anything else is superfluous, and you're optimizing your life for very specific metrics, KPIs, OKRs, whatever corporate speak you want to use and apply that to your life. I just would like to call out that there are potential pitfalls with that, because what doesn't make the cut in your life, and when you really narrow down your focus to a point where, let's say, that piece of your life that you're optimizing for falls apart, like, what do you have left? That's like a question that I'd like to raise.
Dang, that's powerful, man. That's powerful, because one of the things that we noticed during COVID-19, and I think it's something that I've been more mindful of as a technology leader and as a community leader, is holistic wellness and your holistic health. And I think what we often see purported from technology leaders, executives, and from the west side of town, right, like the Silicon Valley, is that life is all about performance, but sometimes life is also about stillness and, kind of finding the mentor within yourself and mentors to surround yourself with. So that's really powerful, man, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it was just interesting to me because until I sat down and really thought about folks that I connected with really organically in my life, I was like, I really have everything I need to just try to make sense of this all. And in a way, sitting down and writing it out helped me feel less alone. So it was very therapeutic. Also, there's a lot of stuff with my family that came up. I was able to reconnect with my father, who lives out in India and runs and works in the animated film industry out there. So it was a transformational experience, and I'm actually struggling as a result to try to take it as a product and be more, less reflective, more executive, right? It's always that balance between in life. If you're purely excelling at your executive function and can deliver and kind of check out and just get stuff done, great. If you're purely in the sentient, like emotional reflection, doing your spirituality stuff, whatever it may be, going to, in extreme cases, right, going to a silent retreat, or I feel like a lot of times in the culture in California, there's this unrealistic dichotomy that exists where you're either this like mindful, embodied, you could call it a hippie. I don't even know. That's like kind of part of the history of California. Or you're this like power executive, and then there's very little in between. And so I challenge that too. I think there are ways to carve out a balance. You can be, whether you're in the for-profit, nonprofit, government sector, you can create space for things outside of that.
Yeah, so I know that you're really into arts and culture as well, and it's a little, some of that is touched on in your book, but it's also touched on the people. It's also shown in, if people know you personally, you talk about art a lot, and all kinds of artists. Who are some of the artists that you are really excited about? Who are unique? They're different. They're shining a light on really larger themes, larger topics, such as what you touch on in your book. Are there some that you can share with us?
Yeah, there's there are a lot of different creatives that inspire me. I think I'm actually a commissioner in a Silicon Valley city. I'm on the Arts Commission in Sunnyvale.
Wow.
And I had a great opportunity to work with IDEO on a crowdsourced city initiative to shape their climate response and action plan. And I would say in general, I'm really inspired by programs that engage young people, especially in this age of passive consumption with mobile devices and kind of all of the increased awareness we have around the impact on young people's minds as it relates to the technology that they consume. Programs that get youths making art, feeling like they can be a creator. And I feel like I've struggled with this a lot too. I am passively scrolling on my phone all the time. And it's gotten bad for me during the pandemic. Like I'd be on my mobile device and like 5 hours later, just be like, where am I? And I think it's gonna take work, right? To make sure that I had, age 0 to 16 of normal cognitive development without an iPhone or an Android device. I think it's gonna take, a lot of programming and work to empower those future creators and artists. And I think what inspired me about the program at the city is they had youths create environmental awareness posters. So they all painted and did that. In terms of an author that inspires me, there's a really great monograph called Generation Wealth that I read recently. That is an amazing photographer. And it just documents wealth culture across the globe and really gives you this sense of decline, like Rome before its decline. I think global wealth culture, and I think the pandemic has highlighted how much inequality has been exacerbated, and how people are really not enjoying that aspect of our culture, right? I think we're more critical of representations of wealth on television and reality TV. We're thinking more critically about how people access wealth, how people build generational wealth. I think growing up in a region of plenty, and I was around wealth a lot growing up in Silicon Valley, like extreme wealth. I thought I was poor because my home didn't have a pool or 2 stories or an elevator, We had
That's a different level of wealth.
It's those mindsets around wealth and money are something that is very taboo to talk about. People like to claim that they're self-made, that they take risks. I think a lot of those people have financial cushions, and it's not equitable. And the narratives don't always acknowledge that. So that's kind of what I'm pushing back on too. I think my money mindsets are extremely skewed, and I think it's as a result of growing up in a region where that inequality is just unsustainable, but also having lived in other parts of the world where that's the case too. I know I saw huge income disparities when I was living in India, huge income disparities when I was living in China. So a lot of the patterns that I see happening in this region that is supposed to be emblematic of future and progress here in the Bay Area in California, in many ways, we could use some help. There are issues where we're really not doing a great job.
Yeah, you preaching, man. You are going really, really deep with us. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us on the show, man. Where can our amazing community team guide find out more about your work and the movement that you're leading with your new book?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm definitely. I feel like we're both on the same wave. Like these past few months, I've just taken a break and I've just been like lying low. But I'll try to get more content out there at jeremie.gluckman. And then I'm on Goodreads and will soon be reaching out to local bookstores. So you can technically get my book on Amazon if you choose to do so. And I would be happy to share more info there. But I'll also be reaching out. And if you have any ideas of communities around books, novels, writing, I'm very excited to engage and excited to connect.
Make sure you join Jeremie's book club or invite him to your book club where you can participate. Jeremie, thanks so much. Looking forward to having you on in a future episode, man.
Thank you for the conversation. It's always a pleasure to see you. I am so excited for what's next.
You too, my friend. And also shout out to all Big Black Tea members. Jeremie has some Big Black Tea. I think it's right beside him.
Oh yeah. And do you know about this parade in Oakland?
Yes, I'm very familiar about the Black Joy Parade. Have fun, man. It's super sad that I'm missing it this year, but have fun, man. Have more fun. I'm gonna live vicariously through you, man.
Well, we'll have to get together soon.
Oh, we have to, man. Talk soon, my friend.
Bye. Thanks again.
Appreciate you, man. Shout out to Jeremie Gluckman. Make sure to go check out In the Shadow of Big Tech, his latest book. I'm going to share a link to the book in the comments. And it really highlights what life is like in Silicon Valley, especially coming from his background, where he's seen wealth at a large scale, but he's also seen poverty at a large scale through his travels. And he's a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. So it's a really unique book with a really unique and layered perspective. And I wanted to make sure that we had him on because he's really leading an amazing movement and has an amazing platform. So make sure you check out Jeremie Gluckman. He's also super active on LinkedIn as well. With that said, I want to give a few shout outs. Yep, it's shout out time. Y'all know who I got to shout out. Y'all are going to be surprised. So I give shout outs to brands and people. Shout out to Danny, the two Dannys that our team guide. We have one Danny who is an artist who is working on amazing art pieces for us, highlighting Team Guide and our Big Black Tea Guide brand packaging and logo. So shout out to her. And also shout out to another Danny that we recently contracted for some lifestyle shots for our brand. So shout out to the two Dannys, wherever they're at right now, amazing creators and artists. Make sure to check them out. We'll link out to their profile so you can support their work and their movement. Also, last shout out of the day, shout out to Slack. Slack is amazing. We use Slack within Guide. Make sure to go check out Slack. Buy you a Slack subscription. You know, it's just the best product, man. I swear, you don't need any other product but Slack, right? No shade on Microsoft Teams or any other internal communications app. We just love us some Slack at Guide. Shout out to Slack for killing it. All right, y'all. With that said, parting words, last words. We are expanding our Guide software as a service beta to select small to medium business customers. If you are a small to medium business customer or a team of about 10 to 15, and you want to try out our beta, be a part of this movement, and be an early tester in our beta program, and you know the software is definitely at a great scale, but we want you to be a part of the movement early on to give us some feedback and also so we can grow with you. So holla at us at guidegroup.com. Register for our wait list. We have our Guide B2 website coming soon. So hit us up. Let's get you on the wait list. Let's get you access. Let's grow with you. All right, y'all. That's it. Don't forget, think big, go big, lead with abundance, and have some fun this weekend. Peace. Oh, wait. As y'all know, we can't let y'all out cold. Gonna let y'all groove out to some I Miss You by the Blue Notes and Harold Melvin. Hold on. Hold on. I want to play this song. This is by one of my favorite artists in the Houston area. Shout out to John Patrick. This is what y'all like to jam out to. Let me know what y'all like there. Peace and love, y'all.
We're in the game now. In it. Yeah. You was just on. Why you look so down? You got a smile on your face. Why you look like a frown? You was a king. Why I can't see a crown? If it goes up, then it's gotta come down. You was just up. Why you look so down? You got a smile on your face. How it look like a frown? You was a king. How you turned to a clown? If it goes up, then it's gotta come down. You know, period, this is my bloodiest foe. I go to war with the bloodiest foes. Hold my hill high with the bloodiest foes. Not showing love, got your buddy exposed. You nutty, you know, professing, just letting you know. We could be flying the ugliest clothes. We learn to drive on the ugliest roads. Rich and missing it. Each nut, each one, teach one. Some people went to college to reach goals, and some people went for a refund. If we gon' slide it, so take some. Quick cash, dips fast, it's sad. How these men are burning pounds like Slim Fast. We playing chess, better check on your queen. You was on top of it, don't mean a thing. I'm an outcast, but I'm fresh and I'm clean. I'ma step up when I step on the scene. Put them in a coffin, ain't talking about lean. Please do not spoil it, don't say what you see. There is no I when you spelling out T. Miss me with the BS, ain't talking about G. You was just up, why you look so down? You got a smile on your face, why you look like a frown?